Toronto Maple Leafs have made multiple shocking moves ahead of tonight's huge game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. We also have some major injury updates surrounding Max Pacioretty, as well as Anthony Stolarz and Cal Yarncroc and Fraser Minten. We have an update on his front as well. Stay tuned for all that in this episode. But before we get into it, quick reminder, hit that subscribe button. If you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be live following tonight's game. It's going to be a good one. The Leafs are rolling right now. 2 big wins in a row against very good teams. And the gauntlet continues against an Atlantic Division rival in the Tampa Bay Lightning. And we got a little bit of a sneak peek there. We'll get into some of the changes they made because there's a lot to go over in today's video. But we'll start with some positive news before we go over all the, a lot of moves they made. An hour before the skate begins, Cal Yarncroc and Anthony Stolarz are both on the ice, getting some conditioning and working with the return to play staff. So this is actually pretty big news. You can see both of them here. Cal Yarncroc, maybe he's going to be returning sooner than we initially thought, but more importantly, at the moment at least, Anthony Stolarz, who's set to make his return over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Darius, it looks like all signs are pointing to a return for him on track into the 4 to 6 week schedule here. And this is huge news, especially given the way, even though Joseph Woll had a masterclass game, they desperately need him back.
They need him back. He is their number one goalie when he comes back. He's been the best goalie this season. And I mean, the tandem has been one of the best in the league as well. So they desperately need him back just to get Joseph Woll back into his rhythm. He has been good. He definitely has been good. And he's going to start again tonight. We'll get into that later in the video. But, Stolarz coming back, this is a good sign. Obviously, in the window that they said he would return, it could be sooner rather than later. He's already been on the ice for a while, right? Over a week at this point. So that's some good news. And Cal Yarncroc, that's pretty interesting too. Playing or on the ice with the return to play staff. We haven't seen him skate since the preseason. Actually, I think it was before the preseason. I think it was in training camp when he went out with that injury. So he's back on the ice as well. He could be returning sooner rather than later. So he could be a deadline pickup per se, if you want to say that. But I think that's pretty interesting as well. Heading into the playoffs, he's going to be another body that they could have at this point. I thought his season was going to be done, but the fact that he's back on the ice and it's only January leads me to believe that he could factor into the Leafs lineup in the playoffs as well. Maybe not starting lineup, but if they're dealing with some injuries, that's not a bad player to have as a backup.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see what to do with Cal, but most importantly, at the moment at least, not to take anything away from Yarncroc. What Stolarz has done, he's one of the best goalies in the league. If he can come back and Joseph Woll can continue his extremely hot play, he'll be good. And Max Pacioretty, it will not skate this morning, so he is hurting. He is injured. We don't know the extent yet. We hope it's not going to be anything too long. That being said, I mean, the Leafs right now are dealing with a couple injuries. John Tavares, Max Pacioretty, Cal Yarncroc has been injured the whole year. Anthony Stolarz, and they're still playing extremely well. And a big question, shout out to Eric in the live stream, but a big question was that Eric asked, everybody was asking, does Dennis Hildeby get the start with how many games Woll's been playing? No. Joseph Woll is going to be in net tonight, which is huge. He's set to make his 24th start. It will be a new career high, and shout out to, most people thought in the chat at least that they were going to go with Joseph Woll. But again, this is Woll tonight, and let's dive into some of the lineup changes there because it's there's a lot. So the first line remains the same. You now have McMahon, Holmberg, Nylander on the second line with Domi, Minten, Robertson on the third line, and the fourth line remains the same. Ryan Reeves factors out. Pacioretty factors out. We'll get into the blue line in a minute because there's more changes there as well. But let's start with a few of these things. Pacioretty out and Holmberg on the second line. The second line's looking a little bit scary against the Lightning, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, that's an odd one. I don't know if you want to put Minten. I would, right? But I can understand why Berube is not doing that Mint's on the third line because of the matchup game. Holmberg has a lot more experience in the NHL at the NHL level and playing in a second line position when guys are out of the lineup. So I can understand why he's doing this, Minten down on the third line and playing with some familiar faces as well that he's played with before. So easy him back into the lineup. It does make sense, but I think, Minten is probably a better player than Holmberg at this point. But again, not mixing up the lines too much in that way. Obviously, still missing Tavares. Pacioretty's out of the lineup. I've liked McMahon's game. He deserves to stay up there with Nylander, so love to see that. And then I think the defense is really interesting today because Riley's with McCabe now, so McCabe's kind of playing his offside. He has done that in the past, but he's playing his offside. Myers only played 7 minutes or just north of 7 minutes against Montreal, and I thought he was injured and actually left the game. But that was not the case, right? Like something happened that they did not like his game, and he's out of the lineup now after a long stretch, Nick, where he was in the lineup and he was playing well. So I think that's a little Odd, a little odd. Benoit comes back into the lineup. Timmins is staying in the lineup. They're paired together. They've been decent at times when they play together. I think Benoit's deserved to get back in the lineup here. He's missed a bit, right? So he deserves to get back in the lineup. I love the way that he plays, but again, at times this season hasn't played great. So it's going to be interesting to see how the defense looks tonight because, again, they're playing around with stuff. They haven't really had a set defense, six guys at least all season. They're still playing with things. They've been dealing with injuries. So it's going to be interesting to see how that does. I'm less worried, I'll put it this way, about the forwards heading into this game. I think there's going to be some interesting pairings, that's for sure. But I think Minten's going to inject some life into the lineup as well. But I'm a little bit interested to see what the defense does tonight.
Yeah, there is a ton of storylines. There's a ton of, questions about whether that second line is going to work, whether how Minten's going to play. And of course, Phil Myers has been struggling as of late a little bit. He started off really good. And then you look at some of the advanced analytics, he's been struggling alongside. And Morgan Riley's been struggling as well. So they're changing up that first pairing, putting McCabe there. I'm excited to see how this goes tonight. Fraser Minten, he gets his second go this season for maybe third either way. He's getting another good chance for the Leafs now. And he's playing alongside Domi and Robertson, which actually I like that line a lot. You move Domi to his more natural position there in left wing, and you have Minten now as the center. That fourth line, it allows that to stay intact, which has been very solid. The only weakness I see right here is the second line at this point. But Bobby McMahon has shown in the past, has played good at times and played better at times in the absence of guys like, Tavares and, of course, Austin Matthews earlier on when he was running that first line for a little bit alongside, Marner and I guess Tavares at that point. So it's very intriguing to me. And Nylander's been playing good as of late. He has up and down times. And Craig Berube actually came out and said some very interesting things. A very interesting quote. And we'll get into Fraser Minten in a second. I'm not trying to figure him out. I'm trying to hear him out. And that's on his relationship with William Nylander, which you love to hear that from your coach. The relationship these guys have with Berube, even though it's only been, not even a year, it's been several months now, a few months, is incredible. But to see, Nylander continue to play well following his rough spot has been good. And regarding Fraser Minten, again, 4 points in 11 games, and a lot of those points came in the first handful of games of his call-up. So it's you never want to see injuries. Pacioretty's out, John Tavares is out, but it gives these guys another chance halfway through the year to give Tavares, even though he is injured, give him some rest as well. Give Pacioretty some rest. Get them fully fresh for when the playoffs are approaching, while also fielding a competitive team. And that's why you have prospects like Fraser Minten who are NHL ready, down in the AHL, ready to come up for exactly moments like this.
Yeah, and he's a great option to have. He plays well defensively, right? Like he plays both sides of the puck well. And like you were bringing up his stat totals this season, a lot of it came in the first couple of games, obviously, and he trailed off after that. But, he's going to have some legs tonight. I think it's going to be exciting for him to get back into the lineup. And again, like he's a good two-way guy. He takes care of the puck. He takes care of his positioning as well. So it's a no-brainer to call up a guy like Fraser Minten right now. He can fit into the lineup. Can he play consistently in the NHL? He will one day, and I think that's why he's still in the AHL. But for the time being, I think he's going to give the Leafs good minutes tonight. I'm excited to see what that line does because Robertson has been playing well as well. Obviously, I've been pumping his tires all season, and Domi's been playing well the last couple as well. So I'm excited to see what the third line does tonight. I think there's real potential there. And in terms of William Nylander and his relationship with Berube, I love that quote because forever since Nylander came into the league, too many coaches, too many people, management, whatever, what have you, are trying to figure him out. I think they should just try and work with him based on who he is, right? So I think that I love that quote, and he's just trying to, Nylander, I'm sure, has a lot of ideas, and maybe Berube, instead of being reluctant to try them, maybe he's like, hey, you know what, let's try some of these. If it doesn't work, we put it in the back pocket, and that's all good. So I did like that quote. I think that's exactly how they should handle certain guys like that.
I'm loving it. Everything today that we got from Craig Berube, from the lines, makes total sense to me. The second line, a little bit scary. Ton of storylines coming in tonight's game, and one of the big ones I haven't mentioned is how Joseph Woll will perform following an absolutely dominant performance against the Montreal Canadiens. But we'll be live following tonight's game, so make sure to stay tuned for that. And the vibes are great right now. Hopefully the Leafs can keep that going.